Hello and welcome back after a long 2-month break from making devlog videos. As I mentioned previously, I had a lot of things to do and I managed to do some, not all of them, but still it gives me some free time that I want to use to focus on this game project. So what are the plans for this video? Mainly I wanted to focus on adding a weapon to the player pawn in order to introduce a new mechanic in the future. But before that I have to do some fixes, some adjustments, so there's a little bit of this and that. This video is split into following chapters. First one is related to fixes. We're going to fix the movement code and add some comments to the code that we have introduced previously. Then we're going to detach the camera from the player and add the camera to the level. Then we are going to add some barriers to the player in order to keep the player pawn in bound. And then the main part of the devlog, that is a weapon. So we're going to create the weapon class, we're going to assign it to the player, then we're going to introduce some code to the weapon, and lastly we're going to create the bullet class, because bullets will be used to further add the damage and health mechanic. So we're going to add the bullet, and we're going to test the spawn of the bullet. In addition to that, we're going to stumble upon one of the programming concepts, that is inheritance. In Polish it's called dziedziczenie. And I hope that I will explain this during the devlog and you will be able to use it in your own projects. Without further ado, let's jump into Unreal Engine editor and make some changes. Okay, so right now we are in the editor, and when I open the content drawer, you can see I don't have all the folders that I had in the previous video. I had to do some reinstallation of my system, therefore I lost the changes that I had locally, mainly to the folders. But fortunately I managed to download the repository to the computer, and I had the changes that I had introduced in the previous devlogs. So the code is not lost, only the empty folders, because folders are not propagated to the GitHub when you introduce changes, only the files that you want to push. Therefore, if you introduce file in the folder structure, then the folder structure plus the file is introduced. Okay, so after this I have explained what happened to my project. So now we are going to make the fixes. When we go to the blueprint, we go to player and we go to the BP player pawn. As you can see, we have the movement code. That is, when we trigger the movement, we can move our pawn on the map. But there's one problem with this, that is, we have the vector that is not normalized. Normalization is a crucial aspect because we want to make sure that the movement is evenly placed in all directions, and it's introduced by the vector. So in order to fix that, we need to do this normalization, because if we don't do it, then we will have a greater speed when we go into corners, instead of going through the straight line up, down, left, right. So we need to fix this problem. So in order to do that, we have to do the normalization. And right now, when we have the action value, we have a vector 2D. And when we try to make the new node from it, that we extend it, we can look for normalize 2D. And this function normalizes the vector for us. We don't have to do the normalization ourselves. So with this fix, we just add this node to this one, we connect it, and that's it. This is the job that we had to do. regarding fixes. And we can comment this code. That is, we are going to select all these nodes, C, and then we can comment the basic movement. And that's it. We have another code that is properly commented, and later on we can make changes if we want to expand it or not. Okay, so that's it with regards to the fixes. We are going to compile the code, save it, and that's it. We can make the tests. That is, we can just try to move around. We don't see much of a difference, but I assure you that when you try to add some print strings, you will see the proper values with regards to the movement vector. Okay, so we can stop it. That's it. We save the changes. Okay, we can now move to the next chapter. Okay, so we had the fixes introduced, we did the fixes, and now it's time for the camera. So we're going to make some changes. So we should have the BP player pawn tab on the top, and we can go to the viewport, and as you can see, we have the spring arm and we have a camera that allows us to have the camera following the player pawn. But we don't want to do it because we want to be like the shoot them all the Space Invaders like game. So the camera is placed in one position and the pawn is moving by itself. So right now we're going to remove this component, spring arm and the camera. So right now we should have arrow and floating pawn movement components and the mesh. Okay, so we can compile, we can save. Then we are going back to the dev map level, and we're going to go into its blueprint, because most of the objects in Unreal Engine have the blueprint system, and levels have it too. So you can add some code to the level that can be loaded. For example, before loading the main level, you can add some code that it's going to execute, or you can add some code that can be used for interaction. That is, you want to trigger the cutscene. So in order to do that, we're going to the top bar, and next to the quickly add to the project, you have this icon that is list of the world blueprints. You open it and you can go to open level blueprint. And now we have a blueprint opened, and we're going to make some changes, but before that we need to go back to the level, and we need to add the camera to our level. So right now we have an outliner, we have only these three objects. We have a lighting, but it's introduced with the basic level. And right now you have a place actors window. If you don't see it, you can go to the window. You have the place actors, you have a check next to it. If it's checked, that is, you should have it in the main editor view. Right now in the search bar we are looking for the camera, specifically camera actor. We can drag it, and as you can see, we have a camera in our level and we have view from the camera. So now we're going to adjust the view, and in order to have a proper viewpoint of our player. Before that, we can change the name of the player, name of the camera. That is, when you click on it, when you focus on it, you can click F2, and we're going to make it main camera. If not, you can click on, you can right click on it and you can perform rename. Yep, in edit, rename. Okay. So after that, we're going to adjust the location and the rotation of the camera. I have already prepared the values, so for me it's minus 390, then we have a 0, and then we have 1220. This is location, and now rotation. It's gonna be 0 in X, minus 60 in Y, and I have to type it manually because you can't use this one because you don't have negative values. And on the Z axis is 0. So right now we have a main view. We can go back and you can see something like this. So it's pointing to, it should point to the player start object. Okay, so we can test it. Maybe not test it, because one thing we had to do, as I mentioned it previously, we have a level blueprint, and we need to tell the code that our player is viewing the world through the camera that we have introduced to the level. So in order to do that, to tell the code that we want to view the world through that camera, first of all, you need to make sure that you have a focus on the camera. That is, you don't have focus on any other project and any other object, only main camera. When you go to the level blueprint, you can right click and you can create a reference to the main camera. With this, we have a reference to the camera that we have created and introduced to the level, so we can use it in order to attach it, maybe not attach it, to tell the player controller that we want to view the world through it. So we have an even begin play, and we're going to need a player control. So we have to look for get player controller, and that should be it. Yep, we have a player controller. Player index is 0 because this is only one player over here, and we need to get the node called set view target with blend. This will tell our code that we want to view the world through the camera that we are going to connect to it. So we are going to connect the begin play event. So we have a connection over here, and a new view target is gonna be our main camera. And we're going to do some cleanup. That is, we're going to put the nodes under it. That's one of the ways to have a clean view of the code, because right now you can see that this method needs some arguments, and these arguments are introduced below. You can do it on the top, but on the top usually you have the comment. So we can comment this right now. So we're gonna grab all these nodes, comment, and set player view to main camera. And now this should work. We should be able to see the world through this camera. Just in case, compile it, save the changes, go to the level, and try to test it. And now you can see we are viewing the world through the camera, and we can see our player hovering around, moving around. Okay, so another change introduced. We can go to the next one. Okay, so we have main camera in the level, but we have a problem right now. When we playtest again and we move around, our pawn is out of sight of the camera. So we don't want this. We want to have it in the view of the camera. So we want to introduce bounds, barriers, so the player pawn won't run away from the level. So in order to do that, we're going to do the same thing as with the main camera, but we are going to use a different object. A little bit tricky, but I try to explain it later. We're looking for trigger box. Why for a trigger box? Because the main the main thing the trigger box does is to add ability to trigger event, but it works on the collision system, so we can use this collision system in order to introduce the barriers. So this won't be visible for our player, but in our editor it's going to be visible for us, and we can later on adjust it. So what I am talking about, when you go to the properties of this object, and when you scroll down, you have a collision, and you have collision presets. These presets tell how the given object should behave when it encounters collision. And you have several presets. You have physics actor, you have spectator, you have ignore only pawn, you have block all dynamics. But in order to make these changes, what we have right now, what we want to do it, we're going to use the block all. Block all should block everything that goes, either dynamic or static. So with that, we're going to add 4 of these barriers in order to contain our player. Okay, so right now, let us rename this object to the barrier 1, and let us create a new folder. We're gonna call this barriers, and move the barrier to the barriers folder. I recommend using the folders in the outliner, because it's a very useful thing to have things organized. Later on, you're not going to be lost when you go back to the project, for example, and try to make some changes. You will see where you have placed certain object in the level, and you can just quickly go through the folder structure and make adjustments. Or you can go and use the search bar in order to make changes. Okay, so let's go back to our barrier. So we have a collision preset set to the block all, and right now we need to adjust the size of the barrier. The size, when it comes to the trigger box, the best thing to use is the shape, not the scale, but the shape, because the shape relates to the collision system. Therefore, you can use it to adjust the collision of it. So we have a box extent, and I'll introduce my values to it. That is, we have a 40.0 default, now 1800, and then 100. So it should be 40 points deep, 1800 points wide, and 100 points high. Okay, so now we're going to add a location to it, so maybe adjust the location. So the location should be 1400, 0. As you can see, we have our barrier, first barrier, and now the easiest thing to do is to duplicate them. So we have a barrier, we have a focus on it, we can click Ctrl D, the barrier is duplicated, and we're just going to adjust the location. That is, we're going to use -400, 0. So we have a second barrier, and then another one, third one. This time we're going to adjust location and rotation. That is, we're going to rotate it in the z-axis 90 degrees. So right now we have a wall, the third wall, and the location should be 0, -1000, and -1000 and 0. So we have a third wall, and the fourth one is just duplicate the barrier 3. Location should be 0, 1000, 0. And we can test the changes. So save all the changes, start the playtest, and as you can see, you don't see the barriers, but the player is contained within the barriers. So that should give us the ability to contain our player in the map, and it shouldn't run away. Okay. If you want to, you can adjust the rotations of these two barriers in order to have a wider movement, I would say. For example, when we do 100 on the z-axis over here, and here it's gonna be 80. And now you can play test it. You can see that it's going smoother around the edge, the left edge and the right edge. That is, it's not straight from the perspective point, but it's like moving on the sides. So you can do this adjustment if you want to. But I'll reverse these changes using Ctrl Z if you want to quickly make the changes. Ctrl Z, and I will leave it as it is right now. In the future, probably I'll have to make an adjustment to it, make a better system, but now it works for us, and later on we can just do adjustments. Okay, so we can go to the next chapter. Okay, so right now we're going to do the main part of this devlog, that is, we're going to introduce weapon to the player. Okay, in order to do that, we're going to create some classes in a certain way. Okay, so first we're going to go to the content drawer. You can go to the content blueprint player. Nope. At this level, we have a blueprint. Right now we're going to create a new folder called weapons. And when we go over here, we can create another class, another folder called parent. And we can create children folder. Why it's that? I'll explain it later on. So when we go to the parent, we are going to create the new blueprint class. It's going to be an actor class, and we're going to call it BP weapon base. We can save this, we can open it, and that's it, what we have right now. In this class, I don't want to do any scene components. That is, I don't want to introduce any visuals to it, and any other components that can affect visuals of it. I want to put the main structure for the weapon, because as I mentioned previously, we want to use the inheritance. Therefore, I want to use this BP weapon base as a base for other weapons. So we're going to contain only the logic thing, basic logic thing, plus probably in the future some actor components that are related to separate logic, but this will be introduced in the future. So right now we're going to create a method. So we're going to go to the event graph. We're going to create a new function. That is, we're going to call it fire. This will be used to trigger the fire on the weapon. So we have a fire, and for the debug purposes, we're going to use print string. We will call it weapon base fire method called, and we can connect it over here. And in addition to that, we go back to the event graph, and we right click on the event graph, and we're going to use a custom event, and we're going to add custom event that's going to be called fire event. That's a nice way to split the event logic and the function logic, and with that we are going to call the fire method. So we have a fire method, and we are going to call it using fire event. That's it when it comes to the BP weapon base. And right now we are going to go back to the player pawn and add some logic over there in order to use this class. So we have a weapon class right now, but we cannot use it. In order to do so, we have to introduce some changes to the BP player pawn. So we go to the BP player pawn, and we are going to add the child component to this mesh that's called child actor. Child actor allow us to use the other classes within the class, so we can use it in order to, for example, add the weapon to the player and fire the fire event to make the fire and other stuff. So that's a neat component, and you can use it if you want to. So we're going to change the name of this component. It's going to be called weapon. Next, we're going to adjust the placement. That is, we're going to move it further in the x-axis. I'm gonna tell you in the future why. So we push this further, and as you can see right now, you can already assign the child actor class to it in order to use it. But we are not going to use this method. We're going to use something else. We're going to introduce some logic to our code in order to assign it, and later on reuse it when we add more weapons. So right now we're going to compile and save changes. We're going to go to the event graph, and we're going to add two new variables. First one is called weapon class. Another one will be called weapon ref, because we're gonna have the weapon class that we want to use it in the child actor, and we're going to assign the reference later on to use the child actors methods. Okay, so right now we need to change the type of it, and we're going to look for BP weapon base. God damn it, again. BP weapon base. And when you hover it, you have object, class, sub-object, sub-class. Right now we're going to use the class reference, because we are going to reference the class. And in weapon reference, we're going to do the similar thing, because we have BP weapon base, but we want to have object reference. So this will be the object reference, and this one will be the class reference. That is, it's going to contain the class type. So right now we can compile, and when you have active weapon class, you can assign the value of it. That is BP weapon base. So we're going to assign it for now. We're going to change it later on. Right now, what we want to do. So at the begin play, we want to assign this class to the child actor in order to have the object of this class and later on use it in our player pawn. So we're going to create a new method. It's going to be called set weapon, and in set weapon we're going to grab the reference to our weapon child actor component. You can hold the left mouse button over here. You can drag it, and you have the reference, and you can choose either get or set. So you're going to get the weapon child class reference, and we're going to add the new node called set child actor class. So we're going to assign the class right now over here, and to do so we're going to drag the weapon class, get the reference, assign it over here, and you should be good to go to have the weapon assigned to this child actor class. But later on we need to have the reference of this child actor, because right now child actor component does not expose the methods of the child actor within it. We need to go into it in order to get this child actor. I know it can be confusing, but I will show you later on how it should work. So right now we have this, but we need to have the reference of the child actor, and we can create another method called set weapon object reference. The set weapon object reference. So after this we can again drag the reference to the weapon child actor component. From this we want to access child actor. You see get child actor. Then we want to cast to BP weapon base, because we want to use the weapon base as a main reference for our weapons for now. And we can assign this value to our variable. We can drag this variable, we can set this variable, assign it like this, and we should be good to go. In order to use this, we go back to the set weapon method and we drag the set weapon object reference. We call it over here. So we have this right now. And then we go back to the event graph and we can drag the set weapon method. We can drag it over here. And voila. So we have everything as it should be right now. We can comment this code that is set weapon at beginning. Within the method we can add some comments if you want to. For me it's mostly clean code that is I can understand it when I go through it and check every connection, every node connection and the structure. So if you want to, you can add some comments if you're not sure if you will be able to read it later on. Okay, so we have this, we have this, we have this, and now we need to test the methods of the weapon. So we're going to do similar things with the movement. That is, we're going to introduce another input action. Okay, so we're going to add this input action right now. We can compile and save changes just to be sure and everything is okay. We can go back to the level editor. We can open content drawer. We can go to the blueprints. We go to player. We go to input. We go to actions. We have input action move, and we can add new input action. That is input. We have input action fire. And when you open this, you shouldn't have to make any changes to it, because this is the basic button trigger. That is, you can push the trigger. You're not interested in the value of it. That is the numerical value. You're interested is if it's either pressed or not. So this should be okay. So basic should be okay. We can go back to the editor, open content drawer. We go to the IMC player controls, and here we're going to add new mapping, and we're choosing IA fire. We have IA fire, and in order to fire our weapon, we're going to use left mouse button. In addition to that, I will add the gamepad, and it should be gamepad right trigger. Yep, I'm going to use gamepad right trigger in order to use the same fire event, trigger same fire event on the gamepad. So this should be fine. You can save the changes, and after that we can go to our player. And here we're going to introduce a new event IA fire, enhance action event. And when you open this, you should have several actions. You have triggered, you have started, you have ongoing, you have cancel and complete. Right now, I want to make sure that we are triggering the fire event on the click. That is, when you click it, it triggers once, not every time when you hold it. So we're going to use the started started event. Right now we need to have the weapons reference. So we're dragging the weapons, we're getting the reference, and after this we want to call fire event. So we have a fire event, we have a weapon, we can drag it over here, and that should be it. So after this we can save, we can compile and save, we can go back to the main level, we can start the simulation, and as you can see, when I click on the left mouse button, you can see weapon base fire method called. So we successfully triggered the fire event on our weapon, and through the call of the set weapon methods, we have assigned the weapon reference, and therefore we can use the weapon now on our player. So player can shoot. That's the conclusion of these changes. The player can shoot right now. We have a basic fundamentals for our weapon system. Okay, so we have this, but in addition to introduce further changes later in the next devlog, I want to show you how I imagine using the weapon. That is, I want to show you how the weapon will shoot the bullet for now. So the next thing to do is to add a bullet class and spawn this bullet using the weapon class in order to have some visualization how the weapon works. Okay, so right now we are going to work on the bullet class. That is, it should be a very simple class for now, because we're not going to add any logic, just for the visualization. Okay, so right now we can go to the blueprints, we can go to weapons, we can go here and create a new folder called, for right now, bullets, something like this. And here we can create a new blueprint class. It's gonna be the actor class, and we can call it PP bullet base for now. We can save it, we can go into it, and right now we can add, for example, the sphere mesh. So it's gonna be as simple as go into default sphere, we have a sphere mesh, and that should be okay. But for the purpose of visualization, I introduced, I made some mesh in the background, so I will try to introduce this over here. So we can go back. Right now we're gonna save it. So I will open the content drawer. We have a content. I will create new folder for now called meshes. We're going to create new extra folder. It's gonna be called textures, and another one's called materials. So right now I'm going to import the mesh. I'm going to use the mesh I have prepared in the background some time ago. It's called SM Bullet Basic. So I'm going to drag FBX file. I'm going to drag it to the content drawer, and as you can see, you have the FBX import options. So in my case, I don't want to create a new material, because I will create a material using the color palette. Color palette is just a structure containing the blocks of the squares of the colors that you can later use to texture your mesh. So right now I'm going to not to create the material when doing the import. I'm going to import all, and when I open it, oh, as you can see, it has already imported the color palette. And as you can see, the color palette I used was from the IMPHENZIA YouTube channel. So shout out to this channel. I will put the link to this color palette down below with the video reference. So as you can see, we have a SM bullet basic, and we have the color palette. So when we go back to it, we want to for sure we want to structure these catalogs. We want to move this texture from the meshes folder. So we're going to hold the left mouse button, drag it to the textures, move it over there. We have a mesh, we have a texture, and as you can see, when you open the mesh, well, basic texture, it doesn't show what I wanted to show you, but I'll try to do it right now. So in order to quickly texture it, we have texture. We go to the material folder. I will create the new material called it's going to be SM bullet basic. Oh, I misspelled it. Basic. Okay, so we have the material, we go into it, and the easiest thing to do right now is to just drag the texture file to this window, and we have a texture sample. You don't have to understand it for now. I'm going to explain it later on when I focus on making the mesh and the texturing and other stuff. So this is just to show you what I'm going to quickly do it. So I have a texture sample. We grab the RGB nodes and we connect it to base color. So we have something like this. Next thing to do, when we go to bullet basic, we are going to use in the material slot the material we have created. So when you click on this one, when we type SM bullet basic, and when we assign it, right now you can see this is the texturing that I wanted to use on the bullet. So that's how the bullet looks right now. This is just for the visual purpose and nothing else. So that's how the bullet should be presented. Okay, so we have a bullet. We can go back to BP bullet base. It's going to be the best to close other tabs. And we have BP bullet base. Okay, so right now I'm going to use a static mesh component, and it's going to be bullet. We have a bullet, we have a static mesh. We're going to use SM bullet basic. So now you can see this is the bullet that we want to use. So we're going to use it when we're going to spawn it in the weapon class. Okay, so we have we have a bullet, and right now we're going to add the projectile movement, because right now when we're going to spawn the bullet, it's going to hover it, but we want to move this mesh alongside. So when we click on the root component, we can search for projectile movement, and we have a projectile movement component. We can call it basic movement. And projectile movement, what does it do? Projectile movement, it's, as the name calls it adds movement to some kind of projectile, either bullet, rocket, or etc. So it's the neat component that allows you to perform the movement of the mesh and you can use it to fire the mesh in a certain direction and see how it hovers around. So right now we don't have any speed, but we can use, I don't know, initial speed of 200 and 200. Probably we'll have to adjust it later on. And we can disable gravity. That is, our scale for the gravity is going to be equal to 0. So the bullet shouldn't fall to the ground after being spawned. So it should be okay. And we can save it. We can save changes. We have a bullet. And what we can do next, we can create the child weapon. So right now we're going to talk about the inheritance. So as I mentioned previously, we're going to touch upon the inheritance topic. That is, we're going to create the child of the weapon, BP weapon based class, in order to add some custom behavior to the basic behavior that we had added to the main class. And what's inheritance about? You can imagine that you have, for example, basic car. Basic car has the doors, it has wheels, you can accelerate, decelerate, etc., etc. And you want to make a better car using the main car as the reference. So you're using everything that the basic car offers. That is, you have a doors, you have wheels, you have acceleration, deceleration, but in your car, that is your car you're making, you can add some other gimmicks, or you can change the behavior of the basic behavior. That is, when you accelerate your car, for example, your car starts to shine for no reason, or when you decelerate, your car starts automatically honking around, so everyone around will be noticed that this car is slowing down, for example. So that's the neat usage of the inheritance when it comes to customization. And this is the one way of structuring the code, that is having the basics of the logic in one main class that is used as a foundation for other classes. For example, you have an enemy class and you can create custom enemies based on the enemy class. So you have a different health level, you have different attacks, you have other custom behavior related to the child enemy class, for example. So we will use it to our advantage in order to test the spawning of a weapon and test the logic that we have added in the previous chapter. So we can go back to the level editor. We can open the content drawer. Can close the engine folder because we are not using it right now. We have a content, we have blueprints, and we have weapons, and we have a parent and children. So we can go to the parent, we can click on this parent with the right mouse button, and we can choose create child blueprint class. When we click it, we can call it BP weapon bullet, for example. And when you open it, it's no different from the previous one. But later on, we're going inside the code, and you will see there's a bit of a difference. So we can go back to the level editor, and we can move this bullet to the children folder. We're going to move it over there. We have BP weapon bullet over in the children directory, in children folder. We can open it, and we need to have a way to inform this object, this class, how to spawn the how to spawn the bullet, and at what direction. So right now I'm going to introduce arrow component, and we're not going to make any modifications to it. precisely, that is only to the location. For example, we're going to push it a bit further, that is 20 points further, and we're going to rename the arrow component to projectile direction. that's the easiest name to add to it. So we have a projectile direction, and we're not changing any other options. That is, it's going to be hidden in the game. So this visualization is used for us to know at which direction the bullet will be spawned. Okay, so we have this. We can compile and save it, and we go to the event graph. And now you can see a bit weird situation over here. That is, we have the event begin play that's calling the parent begin play. And that's the power of inheritance. That is, we can use what's implemented in the parent class to our advantage, for example. But we can, for example, make changes. We can change the, for example, event that we have previously introduced. So we are going to modify fire event. We have event fire event, and we don't want to use the basic behavior of it. In order to use the basic behavior of it, we would have to call the parent fire event, but we don't want to. We want to spawn the bullet. So in order to do it, we need to have the reference for the projectile direction, and we need to get world location. And from it, we're gonna need to get world rotation. These two things we need to have in order to properly spawn our bullet. And next thing to do, we need to spawn actor of class. We're going to spawn actor of class, and we're going to do the similar thing with the set weapon, for example. So we're going to create new variable. It's going to be called bullet class, and we're going to assign BP bullet base, the class reference. We can compile it. Oh, there's a problem because we set to none, but you don't have to worry about it. We had to click compile in order to have the default value, because if you don't do it, you don't have a default value. You cannot set the value over here. So right now we're going to set the BP bullet base, and then we are going to use this reference, get bullet base over here. We're going to move it further away, and when you see spawn transform, we want to have location and rotation. We don't want to have a scale because, for example, we will have to adjust the scale within the bullet class, and if we try to use the scale of the projectile direction, it's going to be overwritten. So right now, in order to add only location and rotation, we click right mouse button over here, and we can split struct pin. And right now we have location, rotation, and scale. So we have we assign location to location, rotation to rotation, and scale we are leaving as it is. So that should be it. We can move this a bit further down. So we have location, we have rotation, we can move it over here like this, and we have base class, so we can move this further down, and bullet class over here. And this should be okay. So right now we have fire event that's going to spawn the bullet that we have introduced in the BP bullet base, using the location and rotation of the projectile direction. Okay, so the last thing to do is to test it. To be able to test it, we need to make some changes in the player pawn, and to do it quickly, we can open the content drawer, we can go to the player, we can open BP player pawn. And one thing that we can adjust, because this weapon bullet is based on the BP weapon base, we can just change weapon class value. So from BP weapon base to BP weapon bullet over here, we can compile, we can save it. And because we are using the same event, that is fire event, so every other logic that we have introduced over here, that is set weapon, we have set weapon object reference, this shouldn't be broken, because this is using the base weapon. Base weapon has method that we have introduced, and child method just overwrites the methods of the parent. So we should be able to call the bullet. Okay, so right now we're going to test it. We will see how it works. So we are having over here. Oh, and now you can see I click left mouse button and our bullet is moving. There's a problem over here, that is it moves, and if you click several times, oh, it doesn't block. Okay. I thought it was gonna be a problem over here, but there's another problem when I go to F8, and when you see over here we have a lot of bullets just moving further in the wild. So in order to remove them, we're going to add extra code to the bullet base. So we have basic movement, bullet, default, and when we go to the event graph, after begin play, we can set timer, the lifespan of the bullet. So we can introduce new variable called bullet lifespan, and we can set it to the flow value. So we have a bullet times lifespan of certain value. We can compile it, we can save it, and we can set this value to, for example, 3 seconds. 3 seconds, for example. Let us go with the 3 seconds. And the quick job to do it. So after begin play, because after begin play the actor is spawned, we can set a timer, or delay. I would say delay is a better method. So we have a delay. It's gonna wait the assigned value that we have placed in the bullet lifespan. That is, it should wait 3 seconds, and after this we can call destroy actor, and destroy method will destroy this actor because it references the self, that is, it points to itself. So after we call the destroy actor, it should be removed from the map. So we can compile, we can save, we can go to the map, we can start simulation, we can go around, and after 3 seconds it should disappear. You can see, so I can spawn a lot of bullets and they disappear. Voila. So that's how it works. So we have everything that I wanted to introduce during this devlog. So we have a new view point for the actor. We have bounds to the actor, that is, the actor is bounded to the certain area. It doesn't go away. And we have bullets, that is, we have a weapon that we can use to spawn bullets, and these bullets will be used later on in the damage system and health system. So that's it. That's it from me. I hope you like it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot for sticking around, and I hope this video will help you in your project. For sure there will be some changes to this, because this is not like the final form. Because we will have, for example, different weapons, different types of weapons, we will have different enemies, etc., etc. So there will be a lot, but at least this will work as a basis for changes to the bullet system, to weapon system. I will try to think what I can do next time, that is, what I can introduce to the game. there's a high probability that is going to be the enemies, that is basic enemies and health damage system. So we'll see about this. If it's not, you're going to see the at the next video at the beginning. So that's it from me. Again, thanks a lot. I hope you like it, and I will see you next time. Bye bye. Do zobaczenia. Thanks a lot for sticking with me. I hope you liked this video. If you're interested in the future content, hit the subscribe button and bell icon for future notifications.